Welcome to the Businessmen and Women of Color podcast. I am your host, Ann Alston, and it is my pleasure to bring quality programs to all of you. I am so excited to be on this podcast with some amazing speakers who are here this year to share their knowledge and expertise with all of you. So please be sure to stop by to every single page, listen to every single podcast because you just can't get this information anywhere. This is a unique opportunity that you really do not want to miss. Just in case you didn't know what the purpose of this podcast is not only to just share information, but we also want to encourage any working professional or career seeker who may be thinking about getting into this line of work. And this is just additional information that you need to know so that you can make an informed decision. I would also like to take the time to thank our corporate partners and sponsors, a family of authors, Butler Olmsted Consulting Solutions, Human Resource Learning Center, J&F Enterprises, and Women Offering Wealth, along with our business partners and sponsors who is helping making this event a success. So, want to get right into it. Before I introduce our next speaker, I just want to ask the audience and everybody who's listening a question. How important is workplace training to your business? If you haven't really thought about that before, I repeat, how important is workplace training to your business? And how important is it for your staff? Are you in a position to offer training that will help boost their self-confidence and the morale within the workplace? These are things that you need to start thinking about, especially if you're a small business owner and you have staff and you want them to be able to excel not only in the tasks that they're doing, but their talents help your business excel. And so for today, we have an amazing speaker here from Concerning Learning, who is going to talk about workplace training. I'd like to introduce Deidre Welcome. She is the founder of Concerning Learning LLC, and she is also one of our business sponsors for the Businessmen and Women of Color podcast. Deidre brings more than 20 years of experience as a learning strategist, and she is also a certified professional in learning and performance. She is also certified as a performance consultant, and she is also an author of Don't Get Left Behind, Take Charge of Your Professional Development in 30 Days, and Use the Passion to Become a True Business Partner. Deidre is also an active member and volunteer with the Metro DC Association for Talent Development chapter, and she also serves on a number of positions with the following roles of Vice President of Learning, Director of Special Interest Groups, Director of Professional Development, Mentoring Partnership Program Manager, and the list goes on. So she's here today to kind of help us understand why it's important to have workplace training. So Deidre, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. It is an honor and a privilege to be able to contribute to such a meaningful endeavor that you're doing. I'm
Oh,
really
thank
excited
you.
about this.
Well,
So
thank
thank you
you.
so much.
I'm definitely excited because I am a fellow teacher of career coach, and while I focus on individual professional development, you focus more on the workplace development. And so I wanted to have you on this podcast since the first day we met at that event in Baltimore, which I'm so glad that you passed that pamphlet around because I was like, aha, I found my person, you know. And I was so glad that we met, and I was really impressed with some of the stuff that you had in your pamphlet, and it looked so professional. So talk to me about how did you get into this profession?
Well, I like to call myself an accidental trainer. And what that means is, I didn't go to school to be a trainer. I didn't go to school to be a performance consultant, but I actually fell into the profession. I worked in the federal government and I still work in the federal government, but I started my career in the federal government and I wanted to. I was working as a student and it was time to graduate. And so of course when it's time to graduate, you're thinking about how do I get that job? I need a job. This student career is over and now I need to really work full time and pay my own bills and pay my own way. And so I needed a job and at the same time that I needed a job, one of my coworkers actually was retiring And so she actually was the training coordinator. And so when she was retiring, they needed to fill that role, and I was graduating and needed a job. And so as a result, I became one of the training coordinators. We actually they actually split her job in two. So my friend and coworker, she was graduating as well. So we split her job, and we became the training coordinators for over 12,000 employees
Oh my
across the country.
goodness. Who,
Yeah,
what I'm saying, but who does that? Split their roles like that? I've never heard of that before. But what an awesome opportunity for you to be able to land in that position coming out of school. But I've never heard of that.
absolutely. It was so incredible though. The timing was just right because she took the training coordinator was responsible for like 7 different organizations. And so I took 4 and my friend took 3, and we just worked it. And so we actually became the recognized experts in the whole administration, the whole agency, because of the way that we set up our systems. And it was just incredible that we actually, these fresh out of school college students, became the resident experts in a government agency. And so that's how I fell into training. I still say I'm that accidental trainer.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. So when once you started doing the work, what was your experience? Did you think you wasn't gonna like doing training at first?
Well, as a training coordinator, it was more administrative. And so I enjoyed being able to help people get the training that they needed. And so I would, take their requests and find the resources and the proper training that matched with what they were looking for and the skills that they wanted to build. And so it really was very fulfilling to be able to help others get what they needed to do their job. And so it started with just the training coordinator. And then I guess I did a good job with that. And they said, well, we have these career development programs that we want you to manage those and help us with that. So I moved into managing like 13 career development programs for different people and setting up systems for that. And then it's interesting because I got out of training for about 2 years and did like management consulting and worked on different hotlines and all kinds of different administrative stuff, but it was more consulting work. And then I really missed training. And so I got back into training, program management, and then I got trained in instructional design. And so I really ran the gamut from coordinating training to managing training programs to actually designing and developing and delivering training.
Wow, that's all I can say. That's a lot. I mean, so with that, you had to get certain certifications in order to do most of that, right?
Yeah, I did. I did. I did some took some training courses and took enough to actually become a master trainer with one of the industry vendors. And so, it was more of a certificate program, but I was able to immediately take what I learned in the training and use it on the job.
So how hard is it to get a certification in the type of training that you're doing? Because I kind of want people to hear, what not so much like the hard journey, but just the reality. How much studying did you had to put forth, and how much it's going to actually cost you to do this if this is the career that you really want to seek.
Right. That's a great question. And I wish somebody was had told me, what the path would be or set a career path for me when I started. And so I would recommend that people start with instructional design. And so I know I did it backwards. I learned the coordination piece first. But when you learn instructional design, which is what I did, and you can do that by taking a week's worth of classes. Most classes are between 3 to 5 days. And you can learn the basics of instructional design. And that's how you design and develop training. How do you put it together? How do you structure it? How do you write learning objectives? How do you make sure that you have the right activities that match the learning objectives? Because a lot of people feel like if you have subject matter expertise, then you can be a trainer, which is not true. There's actually some skills involved. There's a lot of analysis. There's a not lot of designing and writing that's involved. And so it's really putting it together in a way that makes it palatable for the learner, that makes it so that it brings it to life. Because we've all been in training situations where we're sitting and someone is doing what I call a data dump, and so they're just transferring their knowledge to you. But when it's really designed properly and developed in a way that's instructionally sound, then you see engagement, you feel engagement, you're a part of the learning process. So it's not something that you're a passive learner, you're actually a part of it. And you're able to take that and take action when you leave the training, because that's when the real learning happens, is when you get out of the classroom setting and you're actually applying whatever it is that you've learned. And so it's starting with instructional design will set the framework for any direction that you go within training. But as far as certification is concerned, so what I kind of described was more of a certificate program. But to get certified, I would recommend that you have to have some experience in doing it, because there's a part of the certification process where you have to actually prove and apply what you know. And so having that on the job experience will give you that base so that you can actually pass that part of the certification process.
Okay, so yeah, just to want to make sure that everybody understands that you just can't jump into this type of industry. You have to progress your way into some type of training position just from the beginning, and pretty much do what she's saying is get your foot in the door to do some type of training, then do the instructional design, and then work your way up to the other certificate where you can actually get the other certifications so that you can have the experience. So it's just one of those industries where you have to gradually work your way into. It's not something you can just say, I'm a trainer, and you can just do that. So, Deidre, let me ask you, what are some of the training classes that you offer, and talk about who you actually offer it to?
So I have different aspects, different training categories that I do. So my passion is the train the trainer program, where I actually train other people how to design, develop, and deliver effective training that's actionable and it inspires results. And so I have courses like one of them is but I'm not an instructional designer, the pitfalls and challenges of delivering face-to-face training, exploring adult learning. So those are just some examples of the type of training that I provide for other trainers to make sure that they have the requisite skills in order to be effective in their role as a trainer. But I also do other human resource training. I've done sexual harassment training for a major city. I've done business partnering training, leadership development training, as well as programs. I design and develop mentoring programs for organizations, nonprofit organizations, as well as different professional associations. And so I pretty much can design and develop any training, especially if I have a subject matter expert. But those topics that I'm a subject matter expert I keep them kind of related to human resources, training, business development. I do that as well, and leadership development, onboarding, and mentoring.
Okay, so when you're doing these training classes, what is some of the aha moments? I mean, I guess if I'm doing or attending or hiring somebody to do that, I guess I'm looking for how much do I don't know about my training that I'm doing or that I'm learning. Do you get a lot of aha moments when you're doing your training sessions?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I'm reflecting on I just finished a trainer program, and the aha moments were throughout the entire program. And I say that because people, as I mentioned, people say, well, I've been doing training for years because they're a subject matter expert in, let's say, accounting. They know accounting, but do you know how to train others in accounting? And so when the real aha moments happen when people learn, oh my goodness, I need to really write a learning objective for this. That's really hard. I didn't realize what was really involved with doing effective training. And so the biggest aha moment for me is when people they say, wow, I don't think I've really been to a lot of really good training courses because now I see I have something to compare it to. And so that, of course, that warms my heart because I'm like, you're getting it that, I'm building a tribe of learners, a tribe of people who understand the basics of training and can actually do it effectively.
Okay, so are most of the trainings that you're doing are train the trainers, or are they just regular, workforce trainings that they can use to whatever reason boost morale or to just kind of build up skills? Is that more like your forte or?
Well, like I said, so I have different aspects of it. So I really do a lot of leadership development,
Okay.
employee engagement, training, strategic planning, and team building.
Hmm.
And so that's what I get asked to do quite often is to help organizations really be more effective in whatever it is in achieving their mission and achieving results. And so it just depends on what the needs of the organization are as to the types of training that I do. So I really focus on customized training. I don't necessarily have a lot of, what we call off the shelf training because I customize it to the needs of the organization or my client. But I can name the different types of training that I've done. As I mentioned, the business partnering, coaching, mentoring, onboarding, and a lot of leadership development, employee development, career development. So I do those types of trainings as well.
Hmm.
But it is really customized and tailored to the needs of the organization. And so a lot of what I do is analyzing the organizational needs and then tailoring the
Hmm.
training solution to
to
the
to
need.
their needs.
Yep.
Okay, so that leads right into my next question. This is a podcast of a lot of small businesses, and some of them are solo entrepreneurs. What are some of the ways that people can afford to bring your services in? Because here's the thing, a lot of us these days are doing some type of workshop or some type of training class in addition to being a motivational speaker, in addition to whatever they do full time. What are some of the things that they can do to get your service or service like yours that would help them with their workshop or their planning or teaching event?
So I offer consulting services to small businesses, entrepreneurs, and organizations. One of my clients, I actually train their faculty in how to train others within their organization. And so I have some online products that are located on my website that you can actually sign up for and register and purchase. I also have a training checkup where people can actually assess their training, design, development, and delivery so that they can get a better feel of what's required to have effective training. And then if they need my assistance after that, I can coach them and help them improve whatever workshops and training that they're doing.
Right. And
A
guys, I went to her.
toolkit.
Yeah, I already checked out her website, right? And she does have this class out there, and I have to say it's kind of affordable. So if you are having any type of training event where you think that her services could be helpful, that, make sure that you reach out to her, and her contact information is below. Reach out to anybody who's in the career development segment of this podcast, and, and really ask the question, what can they do to help you provide better training. And this is all in an effort to build further and foster relationships, and to also maybe get their services to help with your particular training or event. So let me turn to the book that you wrote, because I'm interested in finding out more about your book and why it was written.
Well, thank you so much for plugging my book. It is actually my book is called Don't Get Left Behind, and it really is more of a learning journal. It is something that I do, and I wanted to share with others to ensure that they are learning continuously, because as small businesses, especially small businesses who are in competition with larger businesses, we need to always be on top of our game. And what I mean by that is we need to be sharp, we need to know our craft, our trade, we need to know our products. And in order to do that, that requires us to learn all the time. And so this is just a way to change behaviors with learning and making sure that you're incorporating learning into your day-to-day activities and ensuring that you are on top of your game and that you stay there. And so that's what, it was more of helping others do something that has helped me tremendously throughout my career.
Okay, so what are some of the things that, not to give away the whole sauce, but what are some of the things that are in your book that people really should be getting your book to read about?
So if I will put the disclaimer that if you're not an active learner, then this book probably is not suited for you, because it's not one where you're just going to read it and then it sits on the shelf and you don't do anything with it. And so it's something that's meant for you to get involved and actually do something with it. And so every day you take about 10 to 15 minutes and you answer 4 questions. And the 4 questions are about your learning that you've done for that day and what you're planning to do for the next day. And you do that for 30 days, and then you're building up habits on and focusing and being deliberate about your learning and intentional about growing in your profession.
Okay, awesome. And where can we find your book?
It's on Amazon.
On Amazon. So ain't no
It's on
excuse, y'all.
Amazon.
All these wonderful books out here. You guys should really, pick up her book and see how that goal planning could help you. Because here's the thing, anytime there's a tool out there that you can actually use to help you make it to your next journey, whether that be going to school or learning how to do training or whatever it is, if it's a tool that's going to help you build a roadmap to the end of your goal planning process, you need to go ahead and get that book, and don't be cheap about it. Just go ahead and Amazon, click that button, right? And pay for that book, because I'm gonna tell you, information that is shared is so vital, because you just can't get it anywhere else. And I want to also encourage people to, don't be afraid to say, hey, listen, I really just don't know how to train my staff. Let me just go ahead and call Deidre and have her help me out. Don't be afraid to do that. That's why her contact information is on this page. And so, Deidre, I want to ask you one last question before we wrap up, because this is really good. And me, I could go on all night, but I have to end it. But I want to know. So this is a networking event, and as you a small business, I'm gonna get the words out. You're a small business. What do you need from
Mhm.
the people who are listening and from the people who are participating in this podcast?
I need people to be passionate learners like myself, and to really put themselves in the position of those people that are learning from them. And to make that simple and plain, would you how would you feel attending training that you're delivering to your learners? Would you be excited about it? Would you be inspired to take action? And so I try to provide training to others that I would like to go through. I don't want people to sit through something that I wouldn't want to sit through. And so I just would encourage anyone to feel free to reach out to me and trust that I am in it with you. I will not leave you hanging. I just want to make sure that we are creating actionable and exciting and extraordinary learning events and experiences so that people change their views about learning and they love training it just as much as I do.
Awesome. And you just finished up a really huge stint in training classes, right? That I
I
saw,
did.
I was following. Tell us about that real quick.
Wow. That was an amazing experience for me. I just, in 2 weeks, completed 25 training sessions and trained over 400 employees for Baltimore City government. And I enjoyed every moment of it. Yes, it was tiring, but it was so exciting because just to hear, like you asked about the aha moments, to hear the feedback from the participants that, I've never been to training like this, and are you coming back? And I enjoyed this, and I didn't realize that training could be this exciting. All of that just inspires me and keeps me going. And so, yes, it was a remarkable experience, and I look forward to going back.
Awesome. Fantastic. Well, Deidre, I want to thank you so much for being on this podcast and sharing with us the importance of workplace training. And I want everybody to reach out to her. I'm going to keep repeating this for each and every podcast speaker that is on here because it is so important that we maintain and build our connections within the African American community and all of the minority businesses to come together and really, really build strong relationships, partnerships that grow and drive results. We have to do that. So, with that, I would like to thank you for being on the podcast today. And thank you for being a business sponsor.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.